In the Central Plains WULN, there's an elite unit known for being ruthless and brutal, but internally, if someone is found guilty of corruption, they'll face severe punishment. Corrupt individuals always devise ways to hide their crimes. They won't spare him just because he's the Heaven Emon's son. Moreover, the Blood Heaven Blade demon already warned him to keep his distance. Now asked with investigating his brother, he knows it's a test. A test that's extremely dangerous. You're about to push me into a perilous abyss, Sima Ming declared. That's right, this mission is extremely dangerous. You could lose your life at any moment. He glanced at his father on the platform. He remained expressionless and indifferent. He asked, did you say you controlled him? Are you scared now? The man replied helplessly. He rubbed his head, that's for when I'm the sect leader. But since you mention it, how can I refuse? He firmly replied, I'll take on this task. A faint smile appeared on his father's lips. Though he didn't know his father's plan, he was determined to put on a great show. Seeing him accept the task so easily, Sima Ming, he seemed surprised to hear about the big changes in the second young master recently. It turns out the rumors were true. By the next morning, a short, melancholic man entered the room. This was Zhu Dialong, the investigator from Yellow Springs Pavilion. Disappointed, he thought, why him? Didn't I ask strategist Sima to send someone attractive? Zhu Dialong stayed expressionless with an air of sarcasm. But he replied, maybe strategist Sima thinks I'm the beauty. The response made him want to punch him, but he controlled himself. Okay, we're all set. Let's get to work. So, what do you know about the Magic Army Commander? Zhu Chunyang, the Magic Army Commander, is actually the younger brother of the Blood Heaven Blade demon, Zhu Yinbo. He's been the demon lord for 8 years now. Over the years, he's undertaken perilous missions transforming the Magic Army into a formidable elite force. Zhu Dialong elaborated on the commander's background. So he's been doing a good job, right? Zhu Dialong wondered why the second young master questioned. He didn't answer. Instead shot back, aren't you interested in probing the Magic Army's corruption? Zhu Dialong immediately replied, I've thought about it. Then why do you always seem so unmotivated? Zhu Dialong paused for a moment. I know that exposing the corruption won't change a thing. Zhu Dialong's calm tone carried a profound sense of helplessness. The man was momentarily speechless, unsure how to reply. Do you mean that our sect will never change unless the higher-ups do? Zhu Dialong didn't answer, but his weary, pessimistic look said it all. The man already knew the answer. Remember the last investigator who got killed? Isn't this dangerous? Aren't you scared? Not at all. The investigator who died was my mentor. Zhu Dialong spoke calmly, his sadness clear. The man was surprised. He looked at the man before him, both melancholy and resolute. Maybe he knows all about everyone in the Magic Army, because he hopes that one day he can avenge his brother. They soon reached the Dragon Institute. The Dragon Institute, home to Magic Army members, is in the western part of the outer sect. At the entrance, two burly men blocked their way. Who are you? Move aside, Zhu Dialong, special investigator from Yellow Springs Pavilion. Despite his short stature, he had a strong presence. The two men were unimpressed and mocked him, saying, Special investigator? I don't see what's special. No entry without superior authorization. Anyway, no permission means no entry. Zhu Dialong presented an official order. Only then did the two burly men soften their demeanor. He said he needs to go report to a superior first. Zhu Dialong fearlessly cut them off. We need to see your superior. Step aside now. But the two men stood their ground, and the argument escalated. I don't care who sent you as an investigator. Here, you follow our rules. Hearing this, Zhu Dialong's expression darkened, lost for words against these towering figures. Just when he felt at a loss, the man finally spoke, Do you know who I am? As the man approached slowly, the two showed no signs of backing down. We know, replied. You know, yet you still dare. The man said before swiftly kicking them below the belt. With two solid thuds, they doubled over, clutching their groins in agony and rolling on the ground. Zhu Dialong froze in disbelief at the scene. Before he could respond, the man urged him to lead the way quickly. Before reaching the main building, the Magic Army encircled them. Zhu Dialong held the command book high. You're instructing the Yellow Springs Pavilion's investigation. Do you want to end up in the dungeon? But his warning had no impact. They merely sneered as a man emerged, parting the crowd. Stepping forward, he demanded, Who dares to attack here without thinking of the consequences? The newcomer was Captain Gao Dang of the elite force. Zhu Dialong whispered to the man, This guy may only be a captain, but he's actually the ruthless deputy commander, feared by many. After whispering, Zhu Dialong boldly declared his intentions. He started to caw, but everyone, gatekeepers and Gao Dang alike, sneered at him. Their arrogance was off the charts. Zhu Dialong found himself helpless. So he turned to the man who approached Gao Dang and unexpectedly offered a handshake. Captain Gao, it's been a while. Despite his confusion, Gao Dang took his hand only for the man too. His face shifted dramatically. I must see the Demon Lord once. He insisted forcefully, Please help us, Captain Gao. He telepathically warned, make a wrong move and you'll never use that hand again. Crippled by the searing pain, Gao Dang had no choice but to. He stepped aside for the two to pass, leaving his subordinates all dumbfounded. They couldn't fathom why their usually dominant captain would surrender so readily. And with that, they walked unhindered into the main building. Zhu Dialong couldn't resist asking, do you know Gao Dang? No, we just met. We just met today. Then how? I crushed his hand when we shook hands earlier. As soon as he said that, Zhu Dialong gasped, completely caught off guard. That the second young master would silently cripple the magic army captain's hand. With that thought, he quickly led the man towards the magic army leader's room. As they reached the entrance, the same scene unfolded again. This time, the man snatched the order from Zhu Dialong before he could speak. Have you clearly seen the seal on this order? Blocking this means blocking the leader's order. Do you dare defy the leader? The man now invoked his father, the Heaven Eamon. Have you seen this order? Blocking it means opposing the leader. The guard showed fear at the mention of the leader, seeing this for the first time. Someone presented the official document, also invoking the name of the Heaven Eamon leader. At that moment, a voice came from inside the room. Let them in. The guards opened the door for the two. Demon Lord Zhu Yang sat solemnly in the wicker chair, compared to the Blood Heaven Blade Demon. Though they resembled each other, Zhu Yang's eyes lacked a certain ferocity. Yet his presence was equally imposing, exerting a powerful aura. Zhu Dialong started trembling unconsciously under the pressure. The man remained fearless. You all seem idle, gathering to cause trouble. Why not read more books to sharpen your wits? Zhu Yang grinned cheekily. Ignorance is bliss, they say, but that's misleading. The less people know these days, the more scheming they are. Their exchange quickly became a showdown. But Zhu Yang, seasoned by years of leading the magic army, remained utterly calm. Effortlessly sidestepping the man's words, Zhu Yang inquired why he was tasked with this investigation. He cited his father's punishment as the reason. An excuse. Zhu Yang feigned a look of realization, though the man knew his adversary likely agonized over the leader's intentions. Zhu Yang pretended unconcerned, asking if they had received another anonymous letter. Zhu Dialong was eager to change the subject. The man insisted honestly, I am not lying. His candid admission left Zhu Dialong visibly startled. The man gave him a calming look, urging patience. Zhu Yang noticed everything and distanced himself from the suspicion. Unfazed, the man said, we'll wrap up the investigation soon. Until then, please, just cooperate with us. Zhu Yang's tense expressions softened slightly at this. Why talk like we're strangers? But the man wasn't fooled. Everyone knows my brother has the Blood Heaven Blade Demon's support, right? The atmosphere shifted instantly. Grew tenser, yet Zhu Yang continued to smile genuinely. Still, my brother is simply my brother. For what it's worth, I back the second young master. The man's skill at falsehoods amused him. Knowing you support me, I feel assured. As he stood to leave, Zhu Yang added suddenly, you best be careful, I truly worry about you, he said as the man's expression cooled. Worried I'll end up like the last investigator? He asked as the room fell silent. Was silent, but Zhu Yang quickly added with a smile, since the leader sent you, I have to ensure your safety. Upon hearing this, the man left without hesitation, heading for the door, yet he clearly felt Zhu Yang's serious gaze fixed firmly on him. My father sent me to ensure only one of us survives. Meanwhile, inside the Heavenly Demon's hall, Sima Ming watched the Heavenly Demon polish his sword. After a pause, he said, I should have handled this instead of the second young master. The Heavenly Demon's hands paused momentarily. Then he continued as if nothing happened. That fellow claimed we've lost our demonic path. Sima Ming was taken aback. Those words weren't just an affront to the Heavenly Demon. They questioned him as the chief strategist, but instead of anger, Sima Ming felt uneasy. So you really sent him to die? The Heavenly Demon remained impassive. If he's bold enough to say it, he should prove it with action. This left Sima Ming utterly stunned. To him, this meant the second young master had to pay for his arrogance. The next day, a dead crow was hung in the main corridor of the Demon Ragged Institute, a place the magic army frequently passes through. As news spread, the magic army members rushed over to see what was happening. Some were curious, but most were angrily shouting and cursing. It's bad luck to hang a dead crow here. Does the investigator think they can do whatever they want? Their uniforms had numbers embroidered on the front representing their squads. The one shouting the loudest was from the first squad who had clashed with the man before. As the tension peaked, someone finally stepped forward shouting, "You're going too far." His voice echoed down the corridor, followed by a man stepping forward. Tiger Zhang, leader of the elite 3rd Squad, the strongest martial artist. With his fierce temper and commanding presence, Tiger Zhang stood out. Everyone there was overshadowed by him. But the man remained unfazed. Captain Zhang, got a problem? Do you want me to spell it out? An inappropriate thing in a busy area? What are you implying? Someone placed it on my bed, and I brushed it off. Hearing this, Tiger Zhang's anger subsided a bit. You shouldn't cause a fuss over nothing. Just find who's behind it. The man quietly looked at Tiger Zhang, knowing he wouldn't compromise easily, and shouted, "All right then. We'll start with the third squad. Hand over all records immediately." As soon as recent whereabouts and banking records were mentioned, the third squad became furious. Zhang Hu was raging, shouting, "You've gone too far." The tension rose again. Realizing he couldn't overpower them, Zhang Hu stomped in frustration. An immense force shattered the ground into powder. Such force couldn't scare him. He warned the others, "If you hinder the investigation, you'll face treason charges." At the word treason, team members quickly moved to calm Zhang Hu. But then he added fuel to the fire, saying, "We'll start with you, captain of the third squad." Yang Hu's aura darkened menacingly. He shot a fierce glare at the man. In a moment of regret, 3 people entered the room and exchanged glances, but then, the man suddenly lowered his voice and calmly looked at the strong figure before him. "How long will you keep testing me?" Zhang Hu was momentarily stunned but played dumb, and said, "I don't know what nonsense you're talking about." The man cut straight to the chase. "That report, you wrote it, didn't you?" Zhang Hu's eyes widened. He wasn't a good liar. As his eyes darted around and his voice fell to a tremor, he finally admitted, "How did you find out?" Zhang Hu's voice dropped as if he had become another person. The man realized all his previous actions were aimed at dispelling the Demon Lord's suspicions. His men were the most disciplined among all teams. Earlier, he executed the crow. Only his team refrained from mocking him. Apart from the criticism, they all stood up for Zhang Hu. This clearly shows Zhang Hu's skill in managing the troops. A person like him would never tolerate corruption in the ranks. The man didn't rely on those to confirm Zhang Hu wrote the complaint letter. He realized it after hearing Zhang Hu was the top martial artist among all the captains. He remembered something from another life. Back then, the top martial artist captain in the magic army was killed. But if his martial arts were so advanced, how could he be killed? The man was almost certain the slain captain was Zhang Hu. Zhang Hu, who died exposing the magic army's crimes, was unsure if his report would have an effect. He avoided details, worried the Yellow Springs Pavilion was under the Blood Heaven Blade demon's control. He hadn't expected the young lord to investigate personally. Back then, he thought it was all over, but now it seems otherwise. He marveled at how direct young people are. Are they really this honest? Zhang Hu was perplexed. "Aren't you young too?" The man chuckled. He asked what went wrong in the magic army. Yang's face fell. The demon lord took bribes and sent the magic army on assassination tasks. As soon as he said this, the man was stunned. Things were far worse than he had imagined. He had thought the magic lord was just accepting bribes to shelter some factions. But he never thought he'd be so reckless. The magic army is packed with experts. Their fees must be skyhigh. Zhu Dialong couldn't fathom how they fooled everyone. In that moment, he realized the whole squad might be in on it. When he got there, they blocked him first and cursed the loudest after seeing the dead crow. They were the fiercest, moving in sync, clearly well-trained. He was curious how Zhang Hu figured it out. Yang Hu froze. The investigator on the case was his friend. He joined the magic army with Zhang Hu. They were brothers. The anonymous letter was also from. He wrote that he didn't reveal this to Zhang Hu until he was dying. The man had never heard of it before. All he knew was that Zhang Hu had died. It seems this was covered up, leaving wondering why it wasn't revealed sooner. Zhang Hu explained that after the murder of his friend investigator, monitoring of internal members started. He didn't dare to act rashly. So, who do you think killed them? Likely ordered by the Demon Lord and executed by squadron leader Gao Dan. Hearing this, the man became pensive. If Zhang Hu is telling the truth, this is a huge matter. The Demon Lord and the entire squadron were involved, even executing the investigator. He wondered if his father and Sima Ming were unaware. He felt they must have suspected. That's why they sent me to investigate. Looks like they want to see if I can stand up to the Heaven Demon. The man silently looked at Zhang Hu, thinking he truly has a great friend. Zhang Hu bowed his head in shame, tears falling involuntarily. If only I'd been brave enough to stand up like him back then. Seeing this big man shedding tears in front of me, Zhu Dialong was deeply moved. The slain investigator was someone he respected. Through them, he saw hope in restoring the lost path of the demon. He hopes people like this will lead the Heaven Demon cult in the future. At this moment, he reaffirmed his belief. Zhang Hu died in a past life, but he won't in this one. He wants to save more people who deserve to live. On the way back, Zhu Dialong couldn't help but notice, "You're different from the rumors. What do people say about me?" Feeling awkward, Zhu Dialong admitted, "You're not suited to be the Heaven Demon." Zhu Dialong lowered his head, embarrassed. He said not to worry, maybe they're complimenting me. To me, being fit for the Heaven Demon isn't a good thing. He thinks ruling by terror is outdated. The demon sect needs to change. Hearing change made Zhu Dialong's eyes brightened, then dimmed. Change isn't easy. The man knew exactly what he was thinking, but if nothing changes, his entire family would vanish, and the Heaven Demon cult would be doomed. Then, he told Zhu Dialong to inform the magic army about the upcoming investigation. But that night, something happened. He was furious. It was the first time he had been angry since returning. That same night, after news of the second young master's investigation broke, something happened. Now, he was resting in his room when a flustered investigator from Yellow Springs Pavilion burst in. Moments later, they arrived to find the corridor outside the interrogation room in chaos. At that moment, the magic army and the investigator were grappling. The man shouted to stop. An investigator lay in a pool of blood amidst the crowd. His face was unrecognizable, the injuries were severe. Beside him, Zhu Dialong knelt covered in blood as the man checked his injuries. Zhu Dialong only worried about his comrades as the man called for assistance. After the wounded were sent to the medical hall, the instigator swaggered out with arrogance. The man gave him a cold look. Was this your doing? Gao Dang admitted it without remorse, confident with his allies surrounding him. Unafraid, the man's expression darkened immediately. Why did you injure someone from Yellow Springs? They bumped my shoulder. They wanted me to apologize, so I had to teach them a lesson. How could he believe you intentionally bumped him first? So even if he apologized, you'd still hold a grudge. Gao Dang didn't argue, he just smiled and his men joined in the laughter. Watching their arrogance, the man said coldly, "You're like poison to your men." Gao Dang didn't get the meaning. To your team, you're the real poison. Gao Dang was even more baffled hearing this. He was confused, wondering what nonsense you were saying. The man didn't reply but questioned sharply. Last year you used the same tactics to kill one of our sect's disciples. The year before you got into a tavern fight and killed 3 nobodies. Being nobodies, the magic army easily covered up the news. Hearing this, Gao Dang remained smug. Anyone who disrespects their elders deserves to die. He shot a vicious glare at the man as if saying, "You're no different." The man's gaze grew even colder. This time I brought the power to act first and report later. When act first and report later was mentioned, silence fell. Gao Dang sneered, "What's the use of that power? You haven't executed us though." His men laughed loudly at his show of skill, which the man considers as poison. Fools are always influenced by others' stares during such tense situations. Gao Dang is unbelievably still performing for his own subordinates, putting on a show, oblivious to what he's about to face. The man stepped forward and Gao Dang's men quickly encircled him. Shielded by his subordinates, Gao Dang grew more conceited. "If you dare to attack us, you'll be against the entire magic army." The man in phase retorted, "At least I don't hide behind my men." Gao Dang raised his bandaged right hand. "If my hand hadn't been injured by some lowlife. You're out of luck today." But just as he finished speaking, the man raised his right hand too, saying, "I won't use my right hand either today. It's just the two of us, one-on-one." Gao Dang clearly didn't expect the man to say that. He was taken aback, but still didn't face the reality. "If you get injured, don't go tattling to the boss," he taunted. Hearing this, the man knew he had taken the bait and vowed to Gao Dang, "Even if I die today, right here, I won't blame you." Once he said that, Gao Dang perked up immediately. With his left hand, he drew his sword into cold arcs. Zhu Dialong grew uneasy. He quietly informed the man that Gao Dang's left hand is just as skilled as his right. He faced the challenge, but it was meaningless to him, because no matter which hand his opponent used, he couldn't be beaten. Just then, Gao roared and lunged at the man with his sword. Every strike was vicious, each aimed at taking the man's life. But the man sidestepped effortlessly, with current strength allowing even his left hand to easily defeat him. However, he chose not to and instead dragged the fight out to 40 rounds. This way, he aroused no suspicion, and seeing the right moment, the man swiftly changed his grip, lifting the sword smoothly. Brutally severing Gao Dang's arm, it was like slaughtering a pig. With a shout, the man struck Gao Dang's face with his sword hilt. Gao Dang hit the ground and chaos erupted in the hallway. They drew their weapons and charged at the man with a roar. Their actions seemed laughable to him. The next instant, a flash of cold steel. The ones in front clutched their throats and fell to their knees. Blood sprayed all around the hallway. No one expected the man to go for the kill. In that moment, everyone was frozen in shock. No one dared to move forward. The man remained expressionless. Their actions amount to treason. The word treason stunned everyone instantly. The man calmly looked at Gao Dang. "Do you know who you've killed? Do you know how their families are now? Probably not, right? You never cared that they lost fathers, children, or husbands. Do you think they can live well now?" Gao Dang shouted, facing the advancing man. He screamed, "I was wrong." Blood covered his face and fear filled his eyes. In the next moment, the man raised his right foot and stomped down. He slammed his foot down on Gao Dang's head. "Who dares to kill one of our followers? It's begun, it's begun." The clash between the demon cult's second son and magic army commander began after the second son executed Gao Dang. That night, Zhu Yang sent someone to track down the second son. Shortly after, in the town's most lavish brothel, Zhu Yang acted as if nothing was wrong. He calmly invited the second son to join him for a drink. He stayed silent about Gao Dang until after the banquet. Only then did Zhu Yang cautiously mention it, saying, "I heard you had a dispute with my subordinate." He purposely minimized it, trying to downplay a major incident, trivializing it despite the fact a magic army captain was killed. This is an earth-shattering event that could rock the entire Heaven Demon cult. but the demon lord just wants to keep this matter under wraps. The man admitted it, but was surprised when Zhu Yuanyang showed helplessness. It's unavoidable anyway, and besides, Gao Dang was never any good. The man knew he was trying to lay all the blame on the late Gao Dang. After all, Gao Dang was his trusted confidant. It's one thing not to seek revenge for him, but to actually make him take the fall is truly cold-blooded and heartless. At this moment, Zhu Yuanyang insinuated, "I know you're doing this for the investigation. If this issue gets blown out of proportion, it will be bad for everyone." Setting down his wine glass, he suggested, "Why not end this now? A captain and 3 subordinates should be enough sacrifice." After hearing Zhu Yuanyang, the man's eyes grew somber, and he feigned difficulty. "I want peace, but here's the issue. I have no evidence. The investigation is my assignment. I need evidence to report to my superiors, don't I?" Zhu Yuanyang's eyes gleamed slyly at this. "The evidence is easy to deal with, just make up a reason. But that's not going to work. After all, the report I got said that an entire unit secretly took on an external task, which is no small matter." The man purposely brought up details from the report. His goal was to thwart the Demon Lord's plans, and sure enough, he succeeded. The Demon Lord appeared slightly flustered, but the man didn't pause, knowing that ending this situation required proof. Though the man didn't state outright, the Demon Lord grasped his meaning. The matter can only be resolved if he hands over the evidence. After leaving the brothel, the man headed straight to the clinic. Zhu Dialong was stunned, not expecting a visit from someone of that stature. The second young master himself would come in person for an inconspicuous subordinate. Rather than being surprised, the man was more concerned about the injured person's current condition. "The demon doctor is treating him. Thank you for bringing him especially." The man wasn't bothered by it. He believed that even as a temporary investigator, they were all his colleagues. Yet, his offhand comment left Zhu Dialong. The magic doctor emerged from the room, still showing signs of shock. Being the top healer of the Heaven Demon sect, he rarely treats others casually, unless it's for a senior sect member. He then asked about the injured person's condition. After hearing the patient was no longer in danger and only needed rest, he breathed a sigh of relief and told magic doctor to use herbs for healing. Yet, this straightforward request left everyone in the room surprised and grateful. On the way back, Zhu Dialong was curious about the Demon Lord's words. "He wants us to stop here." He couldn't believe they were blaming everything on Gao Dang. His most trusted aide died unexpectedly. As he spoke, the man cut him off. Gao Dang wasn't his favorite. He was simply the most useful, and now he's gone. Someone else will naturally replace him. Zhu Dialong stayed silent. The second young master was right. "What's your next move?" The man chuckled coldly. "What now? I set the bait. We'll see if he takes it. You'll find out." Zhu Dialong seemed unsure. "What should I do then?" he asked calmly. "Join me for a drink." Zhu Dialong wasn't sure about the young master's plan, but seeing his self-assurance, he figured there was no need to worry. "I'll cover the drinks today," he offered. The next morning, books and ledgers were delivered to his room. Zhu Dialong handed him an account book and several thousand in silver notes, found at Gao Dang's house. The book detailed those involved in the assassinations, bribery, and how tasks were carried out. Hearing this, he knew the fish had bitten. He instructed Zhu Dialong to find the smartest in the magic army's first unit. Whoever made these records must be quite knowledgeable. The clever individual arranged everything and went to see Magic Commander. He needed to identify this person. To gain more time, he searched Gao Dang's room and found evidence. The Magic Commander visibly relaxed and said joyfully, "That's great. Since it's resolved, why not return to our last drinking spot to celebrate?" But the man interrupted. "Yeah, there's one more issue." Hearing this, Zhu Yuanyang's face turned grim. "What's the issue this time? Our team should have found the evidence first, but now the magic army brought it in." The Demon Lord seemed irritated, suspecting the man of stirring trouble. "Is the source important? Of course it matters. The Grand Strategist is no ordinary person. If he learns this evidence came from the magic army, he'll definitely question our investigation and findings." Zhu Yuanyang. After thinking it over, he realized the man had a point. "So what do I do now?" "We need to stage an investigation, which should take a day. We'll need your cooperation then, Zhu Yuanyang." To persuade him, the man added, "We won't go through any confidential files, just some routine ones. Documents. It's just a formality anyway." The Demon Lord nodded in agreement. "I'll have my team cooperate with you." At that moment, a slight smile crossed the man's lips. He said this because he doesn't really need those secret files. He's looking for the applications they filled out when they joined the Magic Army, and the wills they left before every risky mission. By verifying the notes, he identifies who forged the records. An hour later, Yang Jiayu of the 1st Brigade, staring at the man. Sweating nervously, he stammered, "Why are you holding me?" The man ignored the question and asked, "You forged the accounts this time, didn't you?" Yang Jiayu furrowed his brow, feigning confusion. "So," the man sighed softly and said in a calm tone, "I know you're just following orders. Just answer my questions honestly." but Liang Jiayu still refused to confess, insisting no orders were received. The man patted his shoulder. I get why you're saying that. You're scared the demon lord will kill you. The room fell silent. After a moment's pause, the man spoke slowly. You can go. Liang Jiayu was puzzled. If you won't talk, there's nothing more I can do. I don't want to interrogate someone just following orders. The man sighed as he spoke. But you should understand, even if letting you go would surely mean death at the demon lord's hands. After all, a word of your capture by us has reached his ears, and he's bound to think you spilled everything. Right now, Yang Jiayu's eyes reflect nothing but sheer terror and anxiety. After Yang Jiayu admitted to every crime, exactly as Yang Hu had anticipated, it was the demon lord himself who ordered the murder of the investigator and whistleblower. Dao Dang was the one who executed the order. Moreover, he continues to be guilty of innumerable unforgivable crimes. Upon hearing this, the man was lost in deep thought. Noticing his worried expression, Zhu Dialong began to worry as well, for reasons that were becoming increasingly apparent. The investigation has cost many lives. The demon lord knows for sure. If caught, he face a death sentence. He won't go down without a fight. In response, the man stayed calm and expressionless. I'm not going to capture him. I'll kill him. Upon hearing this, Zhu Dialong's eyes widened instantly. If they capture the demon lord, the blood sky sword demon will make a move. He won't just stand by and see his brother executed. If that happens, things will become much more complicated. Fake evidence proving the demon lord's innocence will emerge. If someone takes the fall for him, rumors defaming me will spread. More importantly, once the demon lord makes it through, he'll start killing to eliminate any witnesses. It's not just Zhang who filed the report and those protecting him. Even you, Zhu Dialong, won't escape his wrath. After hearing the man's explanation, Zhu Dialong was stunned. But if Zhu Yunrei accidentally dies during the arrest, that's a different story, because then we only need to prove his guilt. Zhu Dialong fought back his shock. He swallowed hard. But in that case, the blood sky sword demon will surely seek revenge. The man was indifferent to the issue. He knew not everyone would avenge their family, especially someone like the blood sky sword demon. They wouldn't waste time on such matters. He stood up slowly after speaking. He couldn't promise things would go as planned, but he was sure the blood sky sword demon wouldn't dare make a reckless move. After all, if anything happened to him, everyone would blame the blood sky sword demon. Zhu Dialong seemed lost and sure of what to say. He only snapped out of it when he saw the second young master leaving without a glance back. That's when he finally came to his senses. You're not planning to go there, are you? A moment later, they were in the demon lord's room. The two of them sat facing each other. The man pretended to look grateful. We couldn't have pulled off the mission without you. He was speaking insincerely. When I take over as demon lord, I'll make sure to return the favor, demon lord. Zhu Yanrang's heart leapt with joy, but his words were just empty. I ought to be the one saying that. The man couldn't help but chuckle darkly to himself. Zhu Yanrang really ought to remember this. After all, someone as greedy as him would never forget such a huge loss. The thought made him grab the wine flask. To celebrate, how about we have a drink? He poured wine into Zhu Yanrang's glass as he spoke. But before Zhu Yanrang could take a sip, the man interrupted coldly. Why would you do this? Zhu Yanrang jolted, but feigned confusion. What do you mean? At that moment, the man looked indifferent. You're already rich enough to rival nations. Why are you still so greedy? You've turned the demon army into your personal hit squad. The demon lord's expression darkened. You should have asked the late Gao party. The man sneered. What would a puppet know? The room's tension suddenly spiked. I have no idea what you're rambling about. I'm just curious about what you're thinking. True enough. Someone like you. Is there anything in your heart but greed? The demon lord was enraged upon hearing this. A wave of powerful energy erupted. The tables and chairs around were instantly shattered. Facing the situation, the man remained unflinching. Just as Zhu Yanrang was about to strike, a puff sound echoed, a cold flash of light. The man's sword pierced straight through Zhu Yanrang's body. This is the fifth move, the heavenly flying sword, sky form. It struck immediately at close range. Zhu Yanrang couldn't even dodge. He slumped in the chair, eyes vacant. Yet, he didn't die right away. The man calmly stood up and said, as the demon lord, you had more than 20 people killed for personal gain. I hereby arrest you. The demon lord gazed down at the sword embedded in his chest. This isn't an arrest. This is murder. Your fate is sealed anyway. Consider it a sacrifice for others. You should just accept your death quietly. With those words, the man swiftly withdrew the sword from Zhu Yanrang's chest. The demon lord perished on the spot. After a brief pause, the whole demon army and the investigators were gathered in Zhu Yanrang's room. When they saw Yanrang lying in a pool of blood, everyone was visibly shocked and terrified. The man then announced publicly, the demon lord was guilty of heinous crimes. He resisted arrest during the capture, and was shot dead on the spot. The man's voice was thunderous. reverberating through the crowd. They couldn't believe the second young master had actually killed the demon lord. Before they could even process it, the man continued giving orders. Zhu Dialan, arrest all 1st Battalion members immediately. Lock them in the dungeon and investigate thoroughly. He then turned to Zhang Hu, 3rd Battalion Commander, Zhang Hu. Lead all forces except the 1st Battalion. Assist in capturing all 1st Battalion members. Anyone who resists, deal with them first, report later. One said. Zhu Dialan and Zhang Hu complied at once. They stared at the demon lord's corpse. Their eyes glinted with satisfaction. Perhaps now, their long-held hatred could finally be let go. Before long, news of the demon lord's death swept through the heavenly demon sect. Meanwhile, Sima Ming, the heavenly demon sect's grand strategist, the blood sky sword demon, had been waiting in the heavenly demon hall for a while. Upon seeing the three, the man bowed respectfully to his father and Sima Ming. He then slowly greeted the blood sky sword demon. The blood sky sword demon showed no unusual reaction. In fact, he seemed exceptionally calm. Perhaps it was due to the heavenly demon leader's presence. He deliberately held back his emotions. Yet, he eventually asked the man about the situation details. Faced with the blood sky sword demon's questioning, the man stayed composed. I've outlined everything clearly in the report. Blood sky sword demon wasn't about to let him off. He demanded to hear it directly from him. The man went silent. He glanced at his father and Sima Ming. They didn't intervene. They seemed to agree it was blood sky sword demon's right. He then spoke slowly. Based on my findings, I found out that your brother committed a major crime. But during the arrest, he tried to kill me to keep me quiet. So, I had to kill him. The blood sky sword demon tensed up when he heard the explanation. Yet his tone stayed calm. If my brother truly committed a crime, he definitely deserves punishment. But there's something I don't get. Though my brother isn't very capable, but he wasn't foolish enough to attack you after the charges were confirmed. And that's exactly what happened. If Chu Youngrang just surrendered, he could wait for his brother to save him. He might have avoided disaster. But the man acted to stop that, so he intentionally killed him. But there's no way he'd admit it. So the man acted clueless once more. Maybe he just couldn't accept being caught by a youngster. The man didn't go into detail about the battle. In this tough spot, the more you talk, the more slips you'll make. Letting blood sky sword demon imagine it is the best way. After all, strength rules in the heavenly demon sect. All demons agree that the strong kill the weak. So, blood sky sword demon felt awkward asking for details. And so, he stared at the man for a long time. Before I came here, I saw his body. A sword had pierced his heart. The second young master is much stronger than I thought. The man replied infuriately. I owe it all to my father. That's why he holds back against me. Blood sky sword demon chuckled. Thanks for telling me the truth. I feel relieved now. These half-hearted words were obvious. The man could easily sense them. He had personally slain the opponent's disciple and brother. The fury in his heart was clear to see. Yet, the blood sky sword demon controlled his emotions with ease. His depth of cunning was evident. Before he left the Demon King's hall, he glanced at the demon sect leader. His eyes held no resentment. The heavenly demon gave him his usual look. After telling him to arrange his brother's funeral, blood sky sword demon gave a respectful bow and turned away. He walked down the red carpet, without giving the man a single glance, as if nothing had ever happened. Yet in the man's view, this was the most frightening part. Once blood sky sword demon was gone, Sima Ming finally broke the silence. Much appreciated, second young master. You've gathered a solid amount of evidence. That's how we could wrap up the case smoothly. He then asked if the second young master was hurt. The man just gave a simple thanks. This piqued Sima Ming's curiosity. After all, this task was personally assigned by the leader. Something must have happened between them, father and son. While he was thinking, a masked man walked over with a long wooden box. The cult leader rewarded the second young master. He carefully opened the box. The box contained something extraordinary. Inside was a striking black sword. The man recognized it as the cult's prized black demon sword. A sword as famous as the white flower sword. The man was overjoyed, yet he feigned indifference. Father, if you want to reward me, I should get a white flower sword too. It matches my style. The heavenly demon father looked scornful. The black demon sword is perfect for you. He said, you really don't get me. But his hand had already drawn the black demon sword. As the sword was drawn, a chill swept through the entire heavenly demon hall. He didn't use any inner power. It was all the sword's own energy, but it perfectly matched the man's presence. The moment he seized the sword hilt, he knew this sword was his alone. Still, he asked his father, is this too valuable? Before the demon lord could reply, Sima Ming interjected, it's not too valuable. The demon lord's issue has always been a major challenge for our sect. Second young master, you've handled it with such efficiency. This reward is well deserved. He finished talking and turned to the demon. Honored leader, did you foresee this outcome all along? Father feigned concern with a slight smirk. Not at all. I was afraid he'd die clueless lie. Yet he knew all along. Father didn't see it like that. He was sent to investigate because of Father's trust. The demon knew he mastered the heavenly flying sword technique and taken the demonic essence build, so he believed he wouldn't be easily defeated. Of course, the demon lord's death was probably unexpected to him. Moreover, he also knew his father gave him the treasured sword, was sending a message to the Blood Sky demon. He had recognized the second young master's achievements, at least for this issue. He won't let anyone harm his son. Regarding the Blood Sky sword demon, likely got the message too, so he acted indifferent. With this in mind, he gripped his sword with both hands and bowed respectfully to his father once more. A moment later, as he headed back to his room, suddenly a voice stopped him. Blood Sky sword demon was sitting leisurely at the garden's edge. Second young master appears. It's such a nice day. How about we sit and rest a bit? The moment he spotted them, he knew the old foe wouldn't let him go easily. Yet he felt no fear. He strode directly to Blood Sky sword demon. Then he sat down comfortably. He could sense. The Blood Sky sword demon glanced at the black demon sword hanging at his waist. So, even if he hated him deeply, he wouldn't dare make a move. Yet, as soon as the man sat down, the Blood Sky sword demon roared. You little punk, how dare you attack my brother? I'll shred you into pieces today. A powerful demonic aura burst from his body. The garden flowers withered in a flash. Who would expect such strength in that frail body? Held such tremendous power within. The man quickly summoned his inner strength to fend off the demonic aura. In the next moment, the Blood Sky sword demon returned to his amiable guise. Around him, the demonic aura vanished without a trace. The Blood Sky sword demon smiled, saying, Do you think this is how I should have said it? As he spoke, he aimed a forceful jab at the man's side with the hilt, but the man blocked it with his palm. Then, the man gave a feral roar. You reckless old fool, daring to break our sex rules for your own gain. If you dare to avenge your corrupt brother, I'll smash you to pieces. After roaring, the man added with a grin, Isn't that what you thought I'd say? The unexpected scene stunned the Blood Sky sword demon. Then realizing what happened, he burst out laughing. His laughter echoed loudly. Even the distant patrolling demons word ran in. Suddenly, though, he abruptly fell silent. His expression shifted again. For me, can't you spare him? If he owns up and changes his ways, I might go easy on him. Just make him step down. But his actions have crossed the line. He's completely out of control. The Blood Sky sword demon nodded. How could he not know what his brother has done? The man asked. You're aware of the demon army's corruption, aren't you? So why don't you stop it? The Blood Sky sword demon sighed. He won't listen to me. Anyway, I'm no saint either. But honestly, when I heard he died, I was actually relieved. He can't stand in my way anymore. Seeing Blood Sky sword demon admit his connection to his brother, the man realized something important. Blood Sky sword demon is driven by emotions, and he knows how to use them. The man started to speak slowly as he considered this. I understand how you feel. It's similar to when I heard my brother had died. I would have also felt relieved, just like you, because I won't have to do it myself anymore. Upon hearing this, the Blood Sky sword demon's eyes widened. The heavenly demon sect possesses 4 legendary swords. The black demon sword ranks second among them. Now, it has been gifted to the man. This sword is ferocious and powerful. Establishing a bond with it is beyond what an ordinary sword demands. While a sword won't refuse its master, the harmony between them is missing. The sword's true power can't be revealed. In a previous life, he once saw a sword that was perfectly in sync with its master. It could even resonate with a singing tone. Back then, he thought how great it would be to own a sword like that. Now, once he got the black demon sword, he knew he had to connect with it first. He calmed his mind and focused, and slowly unsheathed the black demon's sword. It shall spread quickly. He hadn't infused any inner strength. This aura came purely from the sword itself. As if swearing loyalty to its new master, he slowly infused his energy into the black demon's sword. An aura began to form around the blade. Sky blue light danced across the sword's blade. He thought the black demon's sword's aura would be black or dark blue, but to his surprise, it was a brilliant sky blue. This filled him with ecstatic joy. He quickly withdrew the aura and practiced the heavenly flying sword technique. The black demon sword is far from gentle. He needed to use the most forceful moves to wield it effectively. After completing a round of practice, he silently promised the sword, I'll teach you the most powerful techniques next. Make sure you hold on until then. But just talking isn't enough. He needs to keep practicing to really master it. Therefore, he practiced during meals, when he woke up, and even held it as he slept. This way, he became entirely consumed by his training, until the day he was about to leave for sword practice. He stood frozen by the sight before him. Hundreds of demons encircled his residence, sealing it off. These were blade ghouls serving the blood sky sword demon. He couldn't tell if they were ordered or came on their own. Yet, he could clearly feel their hostility. At that instant, the blade ghouls unleashed powerful demonic energy, bearing down on him. Their stares were icy and piercing. Throughout his long life, he had never sensed such intense killing intent. He gritted his teeth and wavered. But if this continues, he's bound to get hurt. But the blade demons aura intensified. He felt like his body was ripping apart. Suddenly, a secret technique came to mind. Thousand Veins Enhancement Technique. It was one of the techniques from his past life. Typically, meridians are vital to a warrior, because it's the path for energy flow. So it's also the hardest area to strengthen. But the Thousand Veins technique uses others' attacks to enhance meridians. The more participants, the better the results. He closed his eyes and recited the incantation silently, letting demonic energy flood into his body. Meanwhile, he feigned agony. Seeing this, the blade ghosts got even more excited. They unleashed even more demonic energy. The more he suffered, the happier they were. Yet, the man advanced, channeling his energy. He felt the vital energy surging wildly within him. It pounded against his meridians. With every step forward, the demonic aura of the blade demons grew even more intense. This was not merely a struggle of power, but a battle for dignity. As he moved forward, the Thousand Veins Enhancement techniques soared from the 1st to the 5th level. This secret technique is not usually cultivated so quickly. Its greatest challenge lies in the need for attackers to be in complete sync. Blend your internal energies. At this moment, the demonic energy attacking him shared a single emotion: hostility. Just when he thought the attacks would never stop, their assault began to weaken. When the demonic energy fully vanished, he opened his eyes. His internal strength had multiplied several times. Everyone was stunned, including the blade demons. They were surprised he lasted till the end, though their actions were despicable. Today, he chose to forgive them. He stepped forward, moving towards the crowd. Hundreds gathered but remained silent. His footsteps echoed across the silence. If even one voice called for kill, this place would turn into a hell on earth. In the end, the man triumphed. His perseverance shattered the blade demon's will. They stepped aside to clear a path, letting the man pass freely through. The blade demons' faces showed varied emotions. Some looked surprised and fearful. Some showed admiration mixed with anger. But no one dared to step up and challenge. And so the man quietly left. As he walked out of their circle, he clearly felt a shift in their emotions. It was admiration. This is just the nature of those who follow the demonic way. They bully the weak and fear the strong. It's plain and direct. After dealing with them, he sighed deeply with relief. He felt as if he had just fought a great battle. He turned and headed for the Sky Demon Hall. The Grand Master's chair at the end of the red carpet was empty. Though he didn't dare step up, he was still curious though. He wondered what it felt like to sit and overlook everyone from there. Suddenly, a commanding voice spoke from behind him. "Do you want to take a seat?" It was his demon father. The man didn't turn around. He simply replied, "I don't want to be constrained by that chair." He finished speaking, smiled, and bowed to his father. His father gave no response. He walked past the man to the grand chair. "Come up." He beckoned the man to come closer. Then he repeated, "Take a seat." The man wanted to speak, but ended up saying nothing. He quietly took his seat. "How do you feel?" The man closely examined the scene around him. The walls lining the red carpet were etched with demon figures. Though lavishly decorated, the place felt oddly desolate. "I thought I'd be excited, but now I feel nothing," my father added. "Me too." The man turned to his father. His gaze was still cold, showing no trace of emotion. "Those blade ghosts came looking for me earlier. I don't know if they were following the blood sky sword demon's orders, or..." Before he could finish his sentence, his father cut him off. "They went there on their own." The man froze. Father really does know everything. Even though I managed to stay calm in front of them, I felt numb at the time. But once I left, I started feeling scared. "Are you afraid of them?" "No. I'm afraid of making a wrong call. If someone acted rashly and caused trouble, I might have died there. Even if I had survived, I still couldn't become a sky demon, because I've killed so many blade ghosts. So I'm afraid. Afraid of facing this again. Worried I'll make the wrong choice." When this thought occurred, oddly, the man first thought of his father. He couldn't understand why, but he still opened up to his father. His father said plainly, "Followers of the dark path shouldn't look back. They must forge ahead bravely." The man froze. He couldn't tell if his father was comforting him, or just defying the dark path, and so it went. They silently took in the view. "This place looks so barren. We'd be better off carving some beauties. Like the 4 beauties. Put one at each corner." The man glanced at his father after speaking. His father looked at him like he was an idiot. "You're talking nonsense again. Time for you to go." The man rose slowly. As he reached the steps, he turned back to his father and asked, "Can I kill the blood sky sword demon?" Right then, On hearing the man's question about the blood sky sword demon, the demon father's wild laughter echoed through the grand hall. But a moment later, his laughter suddenly stopped. Even if you could kill the demon lord, with your current strength, you're still far from defeating the blood sky sword demon. The man demanded angrily. So, why did you make me confront him? Aren't you responsible for this? All right, I'll handle it. His father's response was curt, as irresponsibly as always. I name you the head of the Yellow Spring Pavilion. The man was shocked to hear this. He never thought his father would give him the Yellow Spring Pavilion. He realized something when he saw his father's serious look. He suddenly understood. Maybe his father planned to lead the Yellow Spring Pavilion all along. At that moment, his father spoke with intention. Haven't you wanted to tighten our sex discipline? The man understood his father wanted him to handle tasks his father couldn't manage due to his role. His emotions were a whirlwind. Doesn't father care about his survival at all? At this thought, he reminded himself, don't let emotions take over. The human heart is the hardest to understand. Rather than wasting energy guessing, focus on what's right in front of you. The man spoke bluntly. Since you want me to kill the ox, then you better give me a knife. His father asked what he needed. The man made his request without hesitation. Let me enter the Heavenly Demon Library. The Heavenly Demon Library is a restricted area of the sect. Contains countless martial arts manuals. Only the Heavenly Demon and a select few can enter. It's one of the places you must visit after returning. A hint of confusion showed on the father's face. Then, with a mocking tone, he said, don't think entering will let you master legendary techniques. You'll just waste time reading the manuals. He knew it well. The Heavenly Demon Library's collection was vast. Even if you lucked into a top-tier martial arts manual, it would still match the level of his heavenly flying sword technique. Yet, he insisted, I just want to give it a shot. His father grew even more curious. But, after a pause, he made a decision. Though I have no idea what you're scheming, I'll let you stay in the Heavenly Demon Library for 7 days. When he heard he'd be allowed to stay there for 7 days, the man realized this was a rare exception his father made for him. The seasoned man sought the last item for the soul-reviving technique, known as the Secret Demon Soul. He returned to the Heavenly Demon sect, which had been sealed off for decades. At that time, he was little more than a living corpse. With his face long disfigured, no one could recognize who he was. He spent a long time rising from an ordinary warrior to gradually reach the rank where he could meet the new sect leader one-on-one. The effort and time involved are unimaginable to most people.